So after we constructed this frequency filter table, we can go to the bureau and we can introduce a new report. So the previous report here, which shows all those daily frequency, monthly frequency, and quarterly frequency, I'll give it a new name. I'll call it frequencies. Okay, but we're going to work on a new report page. I'll call it frequency filter, and in this report page I'm going to introduce that frequency slicer and let that slicer decide which data frequency we want to show in the bureau. So first of all, let's introduce a slicer. So we're going to use this slicer button here. Okay, and the data field we're going to use for this slicer is going to be under the frequency filter. We have this field called frequency. We're going to drag it here. So here we have different data frequencies, either daily or monthly or quarterly, you can choose from. Okay. However, to use those slicers, okay, such that when you choose this particular slicer, this will affect the historical daily table, such that Power BI will process calculating the moving average accordingly. Okay. You need to connect this frequency filter table with the historical daily table. Okay. Only when you have this connection, then you can basically, when you choose a particular slicer or marker here, this choice will affect the historical daily through their relationships. Okay. So let's go to the model view to see the relationship between the tables. Previously, we already constructed those relationships or star schemas between the dimensional tables and fact tables. Now we have this new table. Well, it's kind of hidden here, but we can just pull it out. Okay, get it here. Okay, so we have this frequency filter table here. We wanna establish a relationship between this table and the historical daily table, such that once we choose a particular frequency in this frequency filter table, this particular choice will affect which data rows in the historical daily table will be affected, because the measure of the moving average is going to use the historical daily table to make the calculations. Okay, so we need to first make sure the frequency choice we made in the slicer can affect this historical daily table before those moving average measures start to compute the values. Okay, so to do that, well, it's very simple. You just kind of click on this date field and drag it and make it overlap with this data field in the historical daily table. Okay, now you can see those two tables are connected by the date field. Okay, so whenever you use the frequency field to only filter in certain frequencies, for example, you only filter in the trading days at the end of each month, then this will affect the date in the historical daily table. So only those trading days at the end of each month is going to be kind of filtered in to be usable for the measures to compute values. Okay. Also, you need to make sure this filter kind of the directional filter is going to go both ways, such that, so here it only goes from historical daily to frequency filter table. Okay, in this case, if you put a filter on historical daily, that filter will filter through this relationship to affect the data in this frequency filter table. Okay, however, we need the filter to work the other way around, right? We need to impose a filter on the frequency filter data table, and that filter works through this relationship to affect which dates we are going to use from this historical daily table. So to change the filter kind of direction, we just right click on this line connecting those two tables, and we click on properties. And so currently the cross filter direction is single. okay, only goes through the historical daily to the frequency filter table, okay? But we want to make it both, so the direction is going to be a two-way relationship. So when you choose both, you click OK. Now you can see this shows there's a two-way relationship, okay? Means that if you use a certain slicer to only choose, say, dates at the end of each month in the frequency filter table, then this slicer is going to work through this relationship to also affect the historical data table, such that only those trading days at the end of each month is going to be used for the measure to compute values. So once this relationship is established, let's check if this slicer can work as intended. So let's go back to the report view. Let's just construct a simple table here. No, actually, I don't want to change this value. I just want to click on the blank area so I can introduce a new value, a table value here. Okay, so the table value is going to have the column being the historical daily date. Okay, and I also have, I will just randomly have this adjusted close. Okay, two columns here. Okay, so you can see the current choice is quarterly. That's why we only see those trading days at the end of each quarter in this table, right? If I choose monthly, well, this table is going to be the monthly table, which shows all the trading days at the end of each month. Okay, so basically this slicer is working. Okay, the basic mechanism works like this. This slicer will allow you to select a certain frequency under this frequency filter table. Okay, and recall in that table the frequency is marked in the second column. So for example, if you choose the monthly marker, the monthly slicer, okay, we're only going to take those rows which have the frequency equal to monthly. Okay, in that case, we're only going to have those trading days at the end of each month. Okay, if we choose the quarterly marker in the slicer, okay, then that means we're only going to take those rows from this big table which contain this quarterly marker in the frequency column, which means we're only going to take those rows related to the last trading day of each quarter. Okay, that's how that slicer works. And this date column, although it's located in the frequency filter table, this data column, remember, is connected with the date column in the historical daily table. Okay, so once you filter the date field under this frequency filter table with the frequency slicer, it's going to affect this date under the historical daily table as well. Okay, so that's why when we have this table and you can see the column, this column, the date column is actually from this date field in the historical daily table. Okay, so because this date field is already connected with the date field in the frequency filter table, so when you change the frequency, okay, when you change this frequency marker by choosing different frequencies here, this frequency marker is going to first affect the date choices under the frequency filter table. And because this date choice is directly linked with this date choice under the historical daily table, it's going to affect which date will be shown here as well. Okay, so that's how this frequency slicer can actually affect the dates we select and we use under the historical daily table. Okay, so next, once we can choose different data frequencies from the historical daily table, we can then construct values using different measures of moving average.